Hi, this is Will Reger. I'm the Poet Laureate of the City of Urbana, and I'm here today with Naveen Rimah, who is a young local poet. And so we're going to find out what it's like to be a young local poet and talk about her poetry. You are a young poet. I don't know, you don't have to really tell me your age, but I was a young poet at one time, long ago. And so I began writing in a real sense as a way of rebelling against my parents. So I'm curious, what are the motivating issues for you as a young person to take your feelings and your ideas, your thoughts to the page and write poetry?
First of all, I want to say thank you for having me on here. I really appreciate it. For me, it wasn't really rebelling. Ever since I was younger, my parents have very much nurtured the fact that I like to write. Both of my parents like to write. For me, it was more of a way to get out of my own head and kind of put it on paper in a sense, because it's just a way to kind of center myself and I kind of use it as like a meditation practice or to help me when I'm feeling a certain way and stuff like that. That's how it really started.
I see here that you have maybe it's a collection called Scattered Mind. When you choose a poem to go into a collection like this, what are the criteria for you?
The overall theme didn't really have chapters. It was more of a collection, like you said. And the overall theme for it was kind of just a lot of stuff going on at once. And when I was looking for poems to put into it, I was kind of looking for poems that would express different thought processes that I have and different sides of myself in a certain way.
We're talking about an actual book that can be purchased and read by others?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All my works are on Amazon under Naveen Rimah.
Are you in the process of another book?
Actually, yes. I currently have 2 books out, Scattered Mind and The Light in Life, and those are both on Amazon. But I don't really have a title for the next thing I'm working on. I kind of want it to be more than just poems, because I think sometimes when I write, I put myself in a box of how I should write and stuff like that. So inside this, I kind of want it to be more of a just like mini journal articles, like that I've written from like my own personal journal, maybe like stories like in like memoir formish, definitely poetry, and maybe some little like mini art pieces or like watercolor drawings or something that I've had. I think that the mixed media will really get people to have a better understanding of who I am as a person, and I think will be more interesting to read instead of just looking at like blank pages.
Do you have a favorite poet, a poet you look up to that you think people should know about?
I think Rupi Kaur. Her books have really popular. The way she writes, she has like doodles and stuff inside like her chapters, and they're all very minimalist, and she's really good at what she does. And a lot of her poems are about like discovering self-worth and just really exposing your like raw self and things that you've gone through that make you who you are. And that really stuck with me a lot when I was writing The Light in Life specifically, because I just got really inspired by that.
Would you mind reading us a poem that maybe isn't on my little list here?
This one is called Garden of Love. Why did we put down our tools and stop nurturing this garden of love? I remember when we planted the first seed. We found the perfect spot and dug a hole just the right size. We came back every day to water it, but it didn't sprout. Time passed and we returned. This time we spoke to the flower, telling it that we would never leave its side. We were so distracted that we ignored the weeds starting to form and missed it all. One day, we ripped the beginning sprout out of the raw ground, tossing it aside and storming away with teary eyes, and the garden began to die. Unmotivated and distraught, I lashed out, kicking at the roots and crying on the broken ground. You didn't come back. I waited, I prayed. We reconnected and embraced. This time we started fresh, planted neat, nice rows of roses and stuck carrots into the ground, sung lullabies to the sunflowers that reached toward the sky, and tore out all the roots, until our hands were bloody and dry. Even placed and painted a nice white fence to keep the foxes out. We watered it thrice daily with tears of love, and a flower bloomed, our flowers. That's why I have faith after all of this. Tell me, why don't you?
It seems to me like you're very taken with themes of nature,
Mm-hmm.
and just describing nature necessarily, but using nature as a metaphor for your own life and experience. Can you talk about that a little bit?
I'm a very spiritual person, so I feel like we are part of the earth and the earth is a part of us. And I think that writing about that and writing about things I've gone through and just things that we go through as people relates to the earth and things of that sort.
Do you feel, as a poet, do you feel in any way that you are giving something to the world and suffering for it?
I mean, I'd like to think that I'm giving something to the world in a sense, and it's not just for like my own benefit. I think it's kind of like a yin-yang type of thing. It's every time I write, it kind of, sometimes it resurfaces things that I like didn't have to think about until I really put it down on paper. But at the same time, through going through those like stages of grief, when I was writing about like my grandmother passing away when I was like young, like just I would write about it. Like after she passed away when I was 7, I would write about it so much. And over time it kind of helped me like deal with it more. And I've always used it as kind of a coping mechanism, like I said before. Writing about, like when I started getting older, I started writing about like abuse that happened to me when I was a freshman. I'm a junior now, but I didn't really acknowledge it when I was a freshman, but like I started writing about it more. And I was like, oh wow, that's really bad. And so it kind of like brought that up, but it helped me deal with it more.
When you think about poetry as a craft, where would you say you most need to improve?
Well, in general, I need to improve on patience. And I think when I write, that really shows sometimes, especially when I'm trying to like create a collection or something. Sometimes I find myself hurrying to write things for the collection just to like have more poems in it. And I think that's what happened with my first collection, Scattered Mind, that I kind of got to a point, I was like, okay, I just want to finish it. And I was kind of just writing things to fit inside the book rather than things that I really connect with. I think it still came out fine, but I think that I really need to work on centering myself and really writing to actually write, not write to get it done.
I think that's a good point, to be able to be more purposeful or intentional about what you're writing. I want to thank you, Naveen, for going to meet with me today.